Under the scorching Texas sun, Finn Carter, a humble young mechanic with worn hands and oil-stained clothes, kneels beside a broken-down silver Bentley on a dusty road. The driver, Audrey Harrington, a striking woman in her mid-20s with designer heels and diamond earrings, looks helpless and annoyed. Finn quietly fixes her car and refuses payment. Hours later, his face floods social media because the woman he helped was not just anyone. She is America's youngest billionaire heiress. By dawn, both their quiet lives are set ablaze. The town of Wichita Falls, Texas, exists in a world of contradictions. Where the asphalt melts under midday heat and tumbleweeds gather against chain-link fences, life moves at the pace of hard work and honest sweat. On the eastern edge of town, past the faded billboard advertising a rodeo from 3 summers ago, sits Rusty Jack's Auto Repair. The building leans slightly to one side, its corrugated metal roof patched with mismatched panels that gleam like scattered pennies in the afternoon light. A ceiling fan wobbles overhead, pushing warm air in lazy circles. An old radio, covered in a film of grease and dust, crackles out country ballads that no one really listens to anymore. Finn Carter is 23 years old, though his hands tell the story of someone much older. Calluses mark his palms like a roadmap of every engine he has ever coaxed back to life, every tire he has changed on the shoulder of a highway, every bolt he has tightened with patience that borders on prayer. He wears flannel shirts with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, jeans that have been washed so many times the denim has gone soft and pale, and steel-toed boots that have walked more miles through motor oil than through clean floors. His dark hair falls across his forehead when he bends over an engine block, and he pushes it back with the back of his wrist, leaving faint smudges of grease that he never seems to notice. He lives in a mobile home at the edge of the repair shop property, a small aluminum rectangle that rocks slightly when the wind picks up. Inside, everything is neat and carefully arranged. A fold-out table serves as both dining area and homework station. A coffee maker sits next to a hot plate. Photographs line one wall, faces of people who are no longer here but whose memory keeps the space from feeling empty. On the narrow kitchen counter, a worn leather notebook lies open, pages filled with careful columns of numbers: income, expenses, savings. The gap between what Finn earns and what he needs grows wider every month. But he does not complain. Complaining never fixed anything. Matilda Carter, Finn's 12-year-old sister, sits cross-legged on the floor doing her homework, a library book propped open beside her math worksheet. She has their mother's eyes, bright and curious, always asking questions that Finn does not always know how to answer. She wears hand-me-down clothes that Finn buys from the thrift store 2 towns over, and she never complains either. She learned early that gratitude sounds louder than wishes. Finn's dream, the one he does not talk about much, is to open a community workshop, a place where people could learn not just how to fix cars, but how to build something with their own hands. A place where the answer to every question would not be money, but skill and patience. He has sketched out plans on graph paper, calculated costs down to the penny, and tucked the papers away in a drawer, where they wait for a future that feels both close and impossibly far away. Above the doorway of Rusty Jack's, a handmade wooden sign hangs crooked on a single nail. The letters, carved by hand and painted white, read, "We fix more than cars." One corner has splintered off, and the sign sways in the breeze like a promise that might not hold. Across the state, in a penthouse suite in Dallas that overlooks a city made of glass and ambition, Audrey Harrington stands at a wall of windows and sees nothing. She is 24 years old and has been photographed more times than she has felt truly seen. Her father, Richard Harrington, built Harrington Motors from a single factory floor into a company that manufactures luxury vehicles for people who measure success in leather interiors and engine purr. The penthouse smells like expensive candles and fresh flowers delivered every morning. Everything is white marble and chrome, surfaces so polished that Audrey can see her reflection everywhere she looks. Sometimes she wonders if that is the point, to always be reminded of the version of herself the world expects to see. Her closet is the size of Finn Carter's entire mobile home. Designer suits hang in color-coordinated rows. Shoes that cost more than most people's monthly rent sit in illuminated glass boxes. Diamond earrings rest in velvet-lined drawers. And yet, when Audrey looks at all of it, she feels nothing but weight. The weight of a name that opens every door but also locks her inside expectations she never chose. Richard Harrington is 58, with silver hair that he keeps perfectly trimmed and suits that cost more than some people earn in a year. He built his empire through relentless control, through calculated risks that always paid off, through knowing exactly when to push and when to hold back. But what people do not see, what even Audrey sometimes forgets, is that Richard grew up poor, dirt poor, the kind of poverty that leaves scars deeper than hunger. He was mocked, dismissed, told he would never amount to anything. And so he built walls around his daughter. Walls made of money and status and carefully managed appearances. Walls that were supposed to protect her, but instead trapped her inside a life where love always came with conditions. Audrey's mother died when she was 7. A car accident on a rainy highway, gone in a moment that split Audrey's life into before and after. After that, it was just her and Richard, and a parade of nannies and tutors and advisors who taught her how to smile for cameras and speak in sound bites and never, ever let anyone see her cry. She learned to be the Harrington heiress, poised, polished, perfect. But somewhere along the way, she forgot how to be Audrey. Just Audrey, the girl who used to finger paint on the kitchen floor and ask her mother if clouds ever got tired of floating. Now she stands at the window and watches the city below, all those tiny lights that represent lives she will never touch, and she wonders what it would feel like to disappear. To walk out of this glass tower and into a world where no one knows her name, where she could be judged not by her last name or her bank account, but by something as simple and radical as who she actually is. The Texas highway stretches long and empty, heat shimmering off the asphalt in waves that make the horizon look like water. Audrey's silver Bentley idles on the shoulder, hood popped open, releasing thin wisps of steam into the burning air. She stands beside it in a cream-colored blazer and designer heels, her phone dead because she turned off location tracking to escape her security detail for just one afternoon. Cars pass without slowing. 18-wheelers roar by, leaving dust devils spinning in their wake. No one stops for a Bentley on the side of the road. Expensive cars have expensive problems that require expensive solutions, and nobody wants to get involved. Then a faded blue pickup truck pulls over, gravel crunching under worn tires. The door opens, and Finn Carter steps out, shielding his eyes against the Sunday. He does not recognize her, not yet. To him, she is just someone stranded, and that is enough. He walks over with an easy, unhurried stride. Up close, Audrey notices his hands first, scarred knuckles, grease under the nails. The hands of someone who works with them every day and does not apologize for it. Finn crouches beside the engine, running his eyes over hoses and belts with the kind of focus most people reserve for things they care about. He presses his fingers against the fuel line, checks the connections, traces wires back to their sources. His movements are efficient, practiced, like a language he learned before he could speak. Audrey crosses her arms, watching him with a mixture of skepticism and something else she cannot quite name. Relief, maybe, or curiosity. "Do you even know what you are doing?" she asks. And there is an edge to her voice that she does not mean but cannot help. It is the armor she wears, the distance she keeps. Finn does not look up. His voice is steady, calm, like someone who has been doubted before and learned not to take it personally. Enough to get you home safe. He works in silence after that. Adjusts the fuel pump relay, replaces a corroded connector with a spare from his truck. Tightens a loose clamp on the fuel filter, checks the ignition timing. It takes him less than 20 minutes. He wipes his hands on a rag from his pocket, then gestures toward the driver's seat. "Try it now." Audrey slides behind the wheel, turns the key, and the engine purrs to life. Smooth, perfect, as if it had never stopped. She stares at the dashboard, at the lights blinking green, at this small miracle performed by a stranger on a dusty road. When she gets out, she reaches for her purse, pulling out her wallet. "How much do I owe you?" Finn shakes his head, already walking back to his truck. "Nothing." "What?" The word comes out sharper than she intends. People always want something. That is the rule. That is the world she knows. He pauses, looks back at her with eyes that are tired but kind. "I was already heading this way. Did not cost me anything but time." He climbs into his truck, gives her a nod, and drives off, leaving her standing there in the heat with her wallet in her hand and a strange, unfamiliar feeling blooming in her chest. Something that feels almost like hope. She does not see the person in the passing car who snaps a photo through the window. The mechanic kneeling by the Bentley, the heiress standing helpless. The moment captured and uploaded before either of them knows what is coming. By the next morning, the photo is everywhere. It spreads across the internet like wildfire, captions written by strangers who think they understand the story. Poor mechanic fixes billionaire heiress car for free. America's youngest billionaire rescued by humble Texas mechanic. The twist rich girl never saw coming. Within hours, reporters descend on Wichita Falls like locusts. They swarm Rusty Jack's auto repair, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward, asking questions that Finn does not know how to answer. George Whitman, the shop owner, a man with grease-stained overalls and a bad knee, tries to shoo them away, but they keep coming. Finn stands in the garage bay, surrounded by the tools and engines that make sense to him, and watches his private life become public property. Matilda clutches his arm, confused and a little scared, and he puts his hand on her shoulder and tells her everything will be okay, even though he does not know if that is true. In Dallas, Vivian Cross, Harrington Motors' head of public relations, a woman with sharp eyes and sharper instincts, strides into Richard Harrington's office and drops a tablet on his desk. "We have a situation." Richard looks at the screen, at his daughter standing beside a broken-down Bentley, at the mechanic who fixed it. His jaw tightens. This is not the narrative he controls. This is not the image he cultivated. And in his world, anything outside his control is a threat. But Audrey, alone in her penthouse, stares at the same photo and sees something different. She sees a man who helped her not because of who she was, but in spite of not knowing. She sees kindness without calculation, and she makes a decision that will change everything. 3 days later, Audrey Harrington walks into Rusty Jack's auto repair wearing jeans, a plain t-shirt, and no makeup. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looks like someone who could be anyone. She approaches George Whitman and extends her hand. "Hi, my name is Anna Hayes. I saw your shop in the news, and I was wondering if you might need an extra pair of hands. I do not have much experience, but I am willing to learn." George looks her up and down, sees something earnest in her eyes, something that reminds him of every kid who ever wanted a chance. He glances at Finn, who is bent over an engine block and does not look up. "Can you change oil?" "I can learn." "Then you start tomorrow, 6 in the morning. Wear clothes you do not mind ruining." That night, Audrey lies in a cheap motel room on the edge of town and feels freer than she has in years. The work is harder than she expected. Her hands blister. Her back aches. She drops a wrench, and it clangs against the concrete floor, echoing through the garage. She fumbles with an oil filter and spills dark liquid across her shirt. Finn watches from a distance, saying nothing, letting her figure it out. When she finally gets the filter off, black oil dripping from her fingers, he walks over and shows her the 3-step process. Safety first. Identify the problem. Fix it right the first time. He does not yell. He does not make her feel stupid. He teaches her the way someone taught him once, with patience and respect for the learning process. And something shifts between them, something small but undeniable. Matilda likes Anna immediately. She sits on an overturned crate during lunch breaks, eating sandwiches and asking Anna questions about everything. "Where did you grow up? What is your favorite book? Do you believe in wishes?" Audrey answers carefully, threading truth through omission, and finds herself laughing more than she has in months. One evening, after the shop closes and the sun sinks low and golden over the scrap metal yard, Finn and Audrey work together on a truck that needs a new alternator. The radio plays an old ballad, something slow and sweet, and the air smells like motor oil and summer heat. Their hands brush when they both reach for the same socket wrench. The touch lasts only a second, but it lingers in the silence that follows. Finn clears his throat. "You have not asked me anything about the photo." Audrey focuses on the bolt she is tightening, her voice quiet. "You have not asked me who I am." "That is because it does not matter." He looks at her, really looks at her, and she sees no agenda in his eyes, no calculation. Just curiosity and something that might be the beginning of trust. Fixing a car is about what is broken and how to make it run again. That is all I need to know. She smiles, small but real. What if some things are more complicated than cars? Then you take your time, you do not rush, and you do not give up just because it is hard. That night, when Audrey returns to the motel, she lies awake and realizes she is falling for someone who sees her as Anna, just Anna. And the thought terrifies her because she knows it cannot last. Secrets never do. The television crew arrives unannounced on a Thursday afternoon. They are filming a feel-good segment about the viral mechanic, the hometown hero, the story that made people believe in kindness again. George gives them permission, thinking it will be good for business. Finn stands awkwardly in front of the camera, answering questions in short, uncomfortable sentences. Matilda hides behind him, peeking out occasionally. The reporter, a woman with perfectly styled hair and a microphone embroidered with the station's logo, asks the expected questions. What made you stop? What did you think when you saw the car? Did you know who she was? And then, turning to the crew, she says something that cracks the moment wide open like dropped glass. This is the exact spot where Miss Harrington was stranded. The name lands like a grenade. Finn's head snaps toward Audrey. Matilda gasps. George's eyes widen. And Audrey, standing in the back of the garage with grease on her hands and hope in her chest, watches everything collapse. Finn walks toward her slowly, each step measured, his expression unreadable. When he speaks, his voice is low and full of something that sounds like betrayal. Miss Harrington? She opens her mouth, but nothing comes out. What can she say? That she lied? That she hid? That she wanted to be normal so badly that she pretended to be someone else? You are Audrey Harrington, the billionaire heiress, and you have been pretending to be Anna Hayes. It is not a question. It is a statement of fact that cuts deeper than any accusation. Were you scared I would treat you differently, or did you just not trust me enough to tell the truth? Finn, please. I opened my home to you. Matilda opened her heart to you. We gave you everything we had, and you gave us a fake name. His voice breaks, just a little, just enough. I thought we were building something real. The rain starts then, sudden and heavy, drumming against the metal roof like 1,000 small accusations. Audrey reaches for him, but he steps back, shaking his head. I just wanted to be seen as myself, not as the Harrington name, not as money or status, just as me. Then why could you not trust me with that? Finn turns and walks away, disappearing into the rain, and Audrey stands there with tears mixing with the raindrops on her face, knowing she broke something precious and not knowing if it can be fixed. The media storm is worse than before. This time, the narrative has teeth. Billionaire heiress caught lying to small-town mechanic. Rich girl plays pretend while real people struggle. The comments are vicious, the assumptions cruel. Review sites bomb Rusty Jacks with 1-star ratings. Customers cancel appointments. The phone rings with angry voices demanding explanations. George takes Finn aside and, with a hand on his shoulder and sadness in his eyes, suggests Finn take some time off, just until things calm down, just until the storm passes. Finn nods because there is nothing else to do. He drives Matilda home through streets that suddenly feel hostile, cameras following them, questions shouted through car windows. That night, in the small mobile home that never felt small before, Matilda cries into her pillow. The kids at school teased her, called her brother a fool, said he got played by a rich girl. Finn sits beside her and strokes her hair and whispers that people say cruel things when they do not understand the whole story. But later, alone in the dark, he walks outside and stares at the garage across the lot. The wooden sign that reads, "We fix more than cars," hangs crooked, and he reaches up and pulls it down. He carries it inside and sets it in the corner, facing the wall. Some things, he thinks, cannot be fixed. In Dallas, Richard Harrington summons Audrey back to the penthouse. Vivian Cross presents her with a prepared statement. No relationship with the mechanic, a misunderstanding, a momentary lapse in judgment. Richard makes his expectations clear. There is a merger in the works, a carefully arranged introduction to the son of another automotive empire, a future already written for her. You have had your little adventure, he says, standing at the window with his back to her. Now it is time to come home. But Audrey does not sleep that night. She stands at her own window, looking at the city lights, and thinks about grease under her fingernails, about the way Finn explained engines with reverence in his voice, about Matilda's laugh, about belonging somewhere not because of her last name, but because she earned her place through work and honesty and showing up every day. She thinks about freedom, real freedom, the kind that costs everything and gives back more. At 3 a.m, she packs a single bag. She takes off the diamond earrings and leaves them on the dresser. She cuts up her credit cards. She writes her father a letter that she knows will break his heart, but she writes it anyway because sometimes love requires letting go of control. And then she walks out of the penthouse, down the emergency stairs, past the security desk, and into the rain-soaked night. She drives through the dark toward Wichita Falls, toward a mobile home and a broken dream and a man who taught her that being seen is worth more than being rich. She finds him at the municipal hospital parking lot, where he is kneeling beside an ambulance with its hood open, tools spread on the asphalt. The ambulance broke down 2 hours ago, and no one else in town could fix it in time. So Finn came. No payment, no recognition. Just a man doing what he knows how to do because it is the right thing. Audrey gets out of her car and walks through the rain toward him. He looks up, surprised, wary, hurt still visible in his eyes. She does not apologize. Instead, she picks up a flashlight from his toolbox and holds it steady over the engine block, illuminating the tangle of wires and hoses. "Tell me what you need." For a long moment, he says nothing. Then, quietly, he points. "Hold the light right there." They work in silence, rain soaking through their clothes, hands moving in practiced coordination. Finn reconnects the mass ground cable. Audrey holds parts steady while he tightens bolts. When the engine finally roars to life and the red emergency lights blink to green, they both stand there, breathing hard, covered in oil and rain. Finn looks at her, really looks at her, and sees not the heiress or the lie, but the woman who drove through the night to hold a flashlight in the rain. "Why did you come back?" "Because I choose this." Her voice is steady, certain. "I choose you. I choose the work. I choose the life where I earn my place instead of inheriting it. No Bentley. No Harrington Empire. Just me, Anna or Audrey or whoever I can become when I am not pretending anymore." She steps closer, rain streaming down her face. "If you still want me here," he reaches for her hand, their fingers threading together, grease and rain and all the messy, beautiful truth between them. "I never wanted the heiress. I wanted the woman who learned to change oil and did not give up when it was hard." They kiss there in the rain, beside an ambulance that will save lives because they fixed it together, and the kiss tastes like second chances and earned trust and the beginning of something built on solid ground. The idea for Carter and Harrington Workshop comes slowly, sketched on napkins during late-night diner meals, refined in the margins of notebook pages, shaped by two people who understand that fixing things is about more than just making them work again. It is about making them better than before. They pool what little money they have. Audrey sells everything that tied her to her old life. Jewelry, designer clothes, the Bentley. She keeps only what she needs. Finn empties his savings account, the one he has been feeding dollar by dollar for years. Constance Miller, the kind neighbor who always brought over casseroles and asked for nothing in return, offers them the use of an old warehouse on her property. The building leans, the roof leaks in 3 places, and the floor is cracked concrete, but it has good bones, and good bones are enough. They spend weeks cleaning, repairing, painting. George Whitman donates old tools. Bridget Coleman, Matilda's teacher, organizes a community fundraiser. People show up with supplies, with labor, with belief in a dream that is not yet real, but might be if enough hands help build it. The workshop takes shape slowly, repair bays with proper lighting, a classroom area for teaching, a small office with second-hand desks. They design a scholarship program, the Matilda Fund, to train young people who cannot afford technical school. They implement 5S organization principles: safety, efficiency, respect. Every decision is made together, equal partners, equal voices. But Richard Harrington does not let go easily. Lawyers arrive with cease and desist letters, claiming trademark infringement on the Harrington name. Vivian Cross plants stories in the press, insinuations that Finn is taking advantage of a young woman in rebellion, that this is a phase that will end badly. The pressure is constant, designed to exhaust them into giving up. Instead, they fight back with truth. Matilda, 12 years old and fierce as lightning, films a video on a borrowed phone. She tells the story of the ambulance, of her brother who fixes things for free because some things are more important than money, of Anna, who became Audrey, who chose to stay when she could have left. The video is raw and honest and goes viral for all the right reasons. News stations pick it up. The hospital confirms the ambulance story. Public opinion shifts like wind changing direction. And one evening, as Finn and Audrey are locking up the workshop, a black town car pulls into the gravel lot. Richard Harrington steps out, alone, without lawyers or handlers or armor. He walks through the workshop slowly, running his hand along a workbench, looking at the tools arranged with care, the schedules posted on the wall, the photographs of the first graduating class of scholarship students. He stops in front of Audrey, and for the first time in her life, she sees her father cry. "I was trying to protect you," he says, his voice rough with emotion he usually hides. "I grew up with nothing. I was mocked, dismissed, told I would never matter. I built all of this so you would never feel that." He gestures at the workshop. "But I see now that I was trying to protect you from the very thing you needed most, the chance to build something of your own." Audrey takes his hand. "I know you were scared, Dad, but I am not you. I do not need to prove I matter through money. I need to matter through what I do." Richard turns to Finn, and there is something raw in his expression. "Respect, recognition. You did not take anything from me. You gave my daughter something I could not, the freedom to choose her own life." Finn meets his eyes steadily. "I love her. Not the heiress, not the name. Her." Richard nods slowly. "Then take care of her, not with money, with everything else that matters." The grand opening of Carter and Harrington Foundation happens on a bright Saturday morning in October. The sun is warm, the sky impossibly blue, and the entire town shows up. There are balloons and handmade banners. Students from the first training class demonstrate small engine repair projects. Matilda, wearing a dress she picked out herself and beaming with pride, serves as master of ceremonies. She is nervous but fierce, and when she speaks, people listen. Finn and Audrey stand together near the front, watching the community they helped build celebrate something that started with a broken-down car on a dusty road. Finn reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. Inside, nestled against black fabric, is a ring made from the first bolt they ever tightened together. He had it set in a simple silver band, polished until it shone. He drops to one knee, right there in front of everyone, and the crowd goes quiet. "Audrey Harrington, you taught me that kindness is not weakness, that trust can be rebuilt, that sometimes the best things in life are the ones we build together, bolt by bolt, day by day." He holds out the ring. "Will you keep building with me?" She looks at the ring, at this man who saw her when she was invisible, who believed in her when she did not believe in herself. "Yes, every day, for the rest of my life." The crowd erupts in cheers. Matilda runs forward and hugs them both, tears and laughter mixing together. George Whitman wipes his eyes with a grease-stained handkerchief. Constance Miller hands out tissues. And Richard Harrington, standing at the back of the crowd, claps slowly, then faster, then he is smiling through his own tears. Above them, the newly restored sign sways gently in the breeze. The letters, carved by hand and painted white, read, "Carter and Harrington Foundation, fixing more than cars." And beneath it, in smaller letters, "Where work builds worth." As the sun sets and the celebration continues, Finn and Audrey slip away to the workshop. They stand together in the quiet, surrounded by tools and dreams made real, and they hold each other in the golden light that filters through the windows. Outside, the world keeps turning. But here, in this space they built together, they have found something rare and precious, a love forged in honesty, a partnership built on respect, a life where being kind matters more than being rich. And in that moment, everything broken has been made whole again.